In the 1920s and 1930s, professional basketball in the United States was almost entirely white. Black players were excluded not by written rules, but by custom, fear, and economics. There was no NBA until 1946. Before that, white-controlled leagues and promoters simply refused black teams. So black basketball survived through barnstorming, traveling constantly, playing whoever would agree, often on hostile terms. Former Globetrotters later recalled being refused service at roadside diners across Indiana, Missouri, and Kentucky, sleeping on buses when hotels turned them away, eating meals packed by black families or churches who learned the team was coming through town. This wasn't occasional discrimination, it was routine.
As the Globetrotters traveled the nation, they played in many communities where Jim Crow laws enforced strict separation between whites and blacks. Once when the team played in a Nebraska town that had no so-called colored hotel, the players had to sleep in the county jail.
One year we were playing in the Deep South, and we went downtown to the hotel to try to get rooms, and they turned us down. So we went back across the track, found us a little dinky motel, and checked in and stayed there.
You go in the gas station and you're hungry. Ask the guys to give me a bottle of milk. Say, I don't have no milk. What do you mean you don't have no milk? He said, I don't have no milk. Well, what's that? Give me a bottle of that. He said, I don't have no milk for colored folks.
The Harlem Globetrotters were founded in 1926 by Abe Saperstein, a Jewish promoter based in Chicago.
From the beginning of his life, Saperstein was almost always an outsider. When Abe was 6 years old, his father moved his family to America and opened a tailor shop on the north side of Chicago in a predominantly Irish and German neighborhood. Saperstein grew up a self-confessed sports nut. He played baseball and basketball through high school, but he was too short to compete in college sports. After failing to make the basketball team at the University of Illinois, he dropped out and took a job as a playground supervisor in Chicago's park system.
He was assigned to a small park on the south side of Chicago, which was predominantly black. And that really gave him an opportunity for the first time in his life to see the tremendous athletic ability of black athletes. And he really and truthfully this was a revelation to him. He felt that this was what he wanted to do. And what he wanted to do was assemble a great basketball team.
Despite the name, the team never originated in Harlem. Harlem was chosen deliberately. It signaled black culture, sophistication, and visibility. If you're enjoying this story, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps bring more untold histories like this one to light. Early Globetrotters teams were serious, disciplined, and fundamentally sound. They ran structured offenses, they emphasized passing, they played defense. Long before trick shots, they were winning games. Many of these players, men like Reese Goose Tatum, and Marcus Haynes, were excluded from white leagues not because of talent, but because of race. Winning came with consequences. Players recalled that in some towns, especially in the Midwest and South, crowds turned hostile when white teams began losing. There are multiple documented accounts of racial slurs shouted from the stands, objects thrown onto the court, local police standing by but refusing to intervene. Former player Marcus Haynes later recalled games where teammates were warned not to celebrate too visibly because it could provoke violence after the game. In some towns, the team was escorted out immediately after games, not for their safety, but to prevent white backlash.
Mickelson misses but follows right up for the score. Clifton drives through hard to ring up two. The pace steps up as big George Mikan pours one in.
The 1948 and 1949 games against the Minneapolis Lakers were pivotal because they were public, high-profile, and impossible to dismiss. The Lakers weren't a gimmick team, they were champions. When the Globetrotters beat them twice, sports writers had to confront the reality they had avoided. Black players were not inferior. They were not undisciplined. They were not mentally weaker.
For that night, 20,000 people in Chicago saw that the Harlem Globetrotters could play the best in the land and beat them.
The Globetrotters came and beat the team considered to be the best, and in essence what they were doing was saying to America, we are very much a part of this society and you will be forced to deal with us one way or the other.
Within a year, Chuck Cooper was drafted by the Boston Celtics. Earl Lloyd debuted with the Washington Capitals. Sweetwater Clifton, a former Globetrotter, joined the New York Knicks. Integration didn't happen because owners became moral, it happened because denial became bad business. NBA integration created a paradox. As black stars entered the league, the Globetrotters began losing their best players. The very success they helped create weakened their competitive position. They could no longer field the absolute best black talent, not because they lacked skill, but because the NBA now paid more and offered stability. The team faced extinction. The Globetrotters leaned harder into comedy and showmanship in the 1950s. This decision has been debated ever since. Some critics, most famously Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, later argued that the Globetrotters reinforced stereotypes of black entertainers as clowns rather than competitors. Abdul-Jabbar wrote that while he respected their history, he worried their image came at a cultural cost. But this critique often ignores the economic reality. Showmanship kept the team solvent, allowed them to remain black-controlled, and let them bypass white leagues entirely.
The Trotters had become more than just basketball players. They were full-fledged entertainers. Audiences from Morocco to Manila flocked to the theaters. In 1952, Saperstein decided it was time to make good on the team's name and travel the globe.
Internationally, the Globetrotters encountered a different reception. During tours of Europe, Asia, and Africa in the 1950s and 60s, players recalled being treated as celebrities, sometimes with more dignity than they received at home. In the Cold War era, the U.S. State Department quietly supported these tours. The irony was unmistakable. Black Americans were sent abroad to represent freedom while being denied full freedom at home.
The Globetrotters brought their star-spangled show to all corners of the globe and spread good cheer every step along the way. To honor their diplomatic efforts, the U.S. State Department proclaimed the Harlem Globetrotters ambassadors of goodwill.
Well, would you believe I've had tea with Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. I've had caviar with the late Nikita Khrushchev. I've had private audiences with the late Pope Pius, the late Pope John, and the present Pope John Paul. I've played roulette in Monte Carlo, and I even finished getting my suntan on the French Riviera. So you put all that together, and that just about embodies what all of this travel has meant and done to me as a Harlem Globetrotter.
The Harlem Globetrotters are often remembered as entertainers, but before the laughter came segregation, exclusion, danger, and constant negotiation for dignity. They didn't just adapt to racism, they outlasted it. Their story reminds us that resistance doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it travels by bus, sometimes it sleeps without a hotel, sometimes it wins anyway and forces the world to change.